Hello everyone, this is another one of Ian Kenyon's PowerPoints that I'm putting a track to help you tackle essay questions. Now this is largely based on the 25 mark essay questions that were on the old specification, but it is also useful for planning out any longer questions, so the 10 marks on the new specification as well as the old spec. Okay, well, one thing that a lot of candidates make a mistake is to not plan out their essay to start off with. In the last video I talked about having a plan for your examination, and when you're tackling an essay, if it's a 10 mark essay like this, you need to obviously leave yourself enough time to do the essay, but you want to also do something at the beginning. And one thing that a lot of candidates do is they just do something that looks like this. It's a couple of lines and it isn't really a proper plan at all. This is potential hazards. Well, they've sort of got into that. It's talking about lava flows, that's a key word here. It's talking, I've underlined it. And it's talking about risk of life and risk to property, depending on the composition of the magma. And they've just talked about a couple of compositions there. They've listed a couple of case studies as well. I'll talk about that in a moment. Here's another trap that candidates go into, which is where they actually produce a plan which is almost a carbon copy of the full essay. You know, it's a really overly long. It's quite a good plan, this one, although they've gone into stuff that isn't anything to do with the question. It's talking about lava flows and talking about here lahars. So you know, don't make your plan your whole of your essay. Here's a good plan. It's about 6-7 lines here. The clear focus is on lava, the composition of that. They're also listing relevant case studies that they're going to refer to. Gongo, Deccan, forgive me, that's Siberian, and here, look, so they're doing that, and they're talking about different compositions here as well, and they're talking about potential hazards there too. So we're really focusing on what we need to do for this particular essay. Second weakness really with planning out essay questions is the inability really to think about how long different parts of an essay question need to be. Now this is in the old specification where you had 2 parts to a 25 mark question in the AS. In this, 40% clearly need to be for the 10 marks and 60% to the 15 marks. So if you're going to spend 40 minutes on this particular 25 mark question, you need to do that accordingly. So that's 16 minutes on the first bit, 24 on the second bit. Or, to put it more plainly, 2 sides of A4, 3 sides of A4, including any sketches that you're going to do. This is something that you are going to need to be able to do, structure an essay so that it starts off with an introduction, including any different definitions of the keywords in the title. Then obviously there's the main body of the essay, which should be in logical sequence and use proper technical terms, geographical and geological rather. And obviously case studies. You'll see in mark schemes that if you don't include case studies, you will not be able to access the top marks for that. You also need to have some sort of conclusion at the end. It might be an evaluation, it might be a discussion there with your opinions. Another problem that candidates have is discriminating between what is actually relevant to the question and what is irrelevant to the question. They might see a trigger word like the word volcano and then write everything they know about volcanoes. That will not get them all of the marks that they need because it's not relevant. Here's another howler really. This is somebody who is trying to write a little bit about a case study, but they cannot remember what it was. It was a volcano that erupted sometime last year. It was like nuisance because it stopped people from flying. They're not going to get any mark at all here because it's got no dates, it's got no geographical location. And the question I was actually describing the hazards associated with lava flows. That's not really relevant at all. If you're going to put a sketch in it, which is a good idea, don't get me wrong, please don't put something in like this. This is just rubbish and not relevant and not well annotated. Weaker candidates will often draw something that might be useful and then repeat everything that's in the diagram actually written out as well, and that's just wasting time. If you've got a diagram that's appropriately labelled, for example this diagram here, which is magnificent, could be from a textbook, don't then spend another 10 minutes regurgitating everything that you've written on this particular plate margin. If you're describing volcanic hazards or earthquakes, don't be a journalist. You're writing an essay in an exam. They might well be earth-shattering and amazing and totally obliterate a particular town, but you're just wasting time, so try and avoid the sensationalist language, unless of course you go and work for the Daily Mail. Then you can do what you want. You're writing an essay question, and what you end up doing, and I know I've done this, is you write the essay question, the question out again at the beginning of the essay. And that's wasting time again. It's probably taking you a minute or two to write that out. Just write the number of the question at the top and get on with the answer. Stop procrastinating. Now, this is another thing that can happen to you. You're into an essay, you're writing well, answering the question, but then you become obsessed perhaps with talking about basaltic lava flows, and you forget about the fact that you're talking about hazards, and you start to talk about composition and silica and all of this sort of side of it, and you end up going into the Waffle House. So keep referring back to the essay title and make sure that you don't wander off into something that is irrelevant to the answer. Now, slants, and I've slanted this on Ian's PowerPoint, are what the essay is about. So they're going to give you the idea of what the question is asking for, so that you don't just write a general answer about volcanoes. So here we go, here's some slants. Describe the nature of the hazard. Explain the cause of the hazard with reference to tectonics. Describe methods that can be used to monitor or predict hazards, reduce risk or mitigate hazards, and the factors that impact the hazard. Try and find those slants and then address your answer towards them, rather than just writing a general question about what hazards are for volcanoes, for example. Right, you are geologists and you are doing A-levels. You should try and spell the vocabulary correctly. I know it's difficult. I would find it extremely difficult to spell Jalayokal, but Montserrat is fairly easy, so please try and do that when you're writing out your case studies. You access the higher marks in that. Now, these are really bad answers here. This was the actual question. Using one or more case studies, describe the volcanic hazards associated with pyroclastic flows. So you've got the word case studies here. The slant is describe volcanic hazard, pyroclastic flows. And you know, these are a couple of answers. Take your time and read what these candidates have actually written, and see if you can think about why they didn't get any marks for their answers. So, what could they have done? Well, they could have listed the characteristics of pyroclastic flows. I'll let you read these for yourselves, or you can look this up in your textbook. So they could talk about what pyroclastic flows are. They could talk about actual specific temperatures and volumes and speeds, rather than just saying they're very fast. Certainly faster than this car, sadly. They could say how far they travel. They could say that this depends on the slope angle, the density, that sort of things. They could say that they follow valleys and they're predictable, and they're able to go over water. So they've described that. They could list these with actual proper case studies of where that happened. So when you've had volcanic or Plinian eruptions in Pompeii, or the collapse of the lava dome at Montserrat, the lateral blast at Mount St. Helens. And we could say what the composition of the magma was, high silica, rhyolitic, andesitic. And they could describe the hazards, rather than just being very generic about it. The hazards to people, the hazards to crops, buildings, infrastructures, and what can also happen when they melt snow and ice and generate mud flows. Now you have a go. I've given you a few ideas there, so why not see if you can answer this question. Plan out an essay plan that's worth 10 marks using one of your case studies. Describe the hazards of pyroclastic flows. So stop the video and have a go. Oh, welcome back. I hope you've had a go at describing the hazards of pyroclastic flows with the use of case studies, and maybe you've even used this particular mountain, which I won't try and pronounce again. If you found this useful, then have a look at the next video, which looks at exploding some of the myths of examinations. Thank you again. Bye.